Hello guys, another video. So this is cracking the coding interview book on PDF form. If you guys don't have it, like I don't have like a hard copy. The book basically it has like an introduction part, which is like super long, and it talks about the interview process, a brief explanation about each kind of the high tech companies. Also like talking about special situations, behavioral questions about like your resume and stuff. So personally, I wouldn't want to like spend a lot of time reading this. But if like 1 week before your interview, you want to read about the company you're interested in, and know about like what they expect you to say during the interview, how to talk about yourself, and your resume especially. Okay, and then there's the part that I think it's really important, which is the big O parts, big O theory part, where like the writer explains all the things that concerns time complexity, the runtime, space complexity, and everything. So she explains literally like from scratch all the theory like behind the big O. And then there are also a lot of exercises that's really important, that's really like interesting, that I really advise you guys to read it, because during the interview they're gonna ask you to say like what's the runtime complexity of this algorithm that you wrote or whatever. And then there are some technical questions that it's like in general. And okay, so the best part, like the most interesting part, I think it's this part, which is the interview questions. It has a lot of chapters. um this data structures, yeah, it has like I guess 5 chapters, yeah, 3 chapters, 4 chapters. For now I'm just gonna start about with chapter 1. Basically it's like generally it's chapter 1 is the easiest, so it's just like a warm-up. If you go to the chapter 1, it's actually it's really interesting, I guess, because like the writer starts by like a brief theory explanation of arrays and strings. If you guys don't know about it, so just like you understand the theory of hash tables, arrays and strings. She explains everything. She even like talks about individually in each chapter about like the big O and the O and entire complexity of each data structure. And there is, yeah, and then there is the interview questions that you want to tackle. There are like about like 12 questions or whatever. Yeah, 9 questions. So what I do usually is that, let's say for example this chapter is erasing strings, I go to leetCode, and for example I just leetCode, and then I just like go to problems and arrays and strings. So for example, I want to start with arrays, so I just type arrays, and there are like plenty of questions that I want to like work on. So just like as a warm up, basically I use like I like try doing like an easy like question about array transformation or whatever. For example, I did that. It's pretty much easy, and it's just like so basic, just like a warm up. So before you tackle this, because before like you tackle the questions here, it's better that you start with like a simpler question, and like just like a refresh, and then you go and tackle the other questions. For example, I did this. So for those who don't know how leetcode functions, you just like you have like the description here of the question. It says like it's easy. It says that how many people like it, whatever. You have the description here, and you have the example, and you have the constraints of like the algorithm that you want to do. You can choose whatever language you want to, but I'm going with Java. And like this question is super easy. Basically, it gives you like an array of like integers. It's good if you ask your interviewers, for example, with like an array of integers and array of strings or whatever. This is so good to ask. I'll talk later about like a lot of edge cases that it's better if you ask your interviewer about. For example, in this question, it gives you like an array, and it's like just basically asks you to change uh like produce a new array every day, and like what's how we're gonna produce it is like we're gonna like run through the array and check if like the elements, the second element, because like we're not gonna like change the first and the last element. So we just like wanna run through it, and if it's smaller than the one before and the one after, you just increment. If it's like bigger, then you just decrement. This is the solution that I did. It's pretty much easy. And like one of like the edge cases that you want to ask about is if like your array length of the array is less than 3. In that case you cannot do it. You can also ask if the array is like empty, how you're gonna